The hum of the industrial fluorescent lights in the customs inspection warehouse after hours is a low, persistent drone, a mechanical breath in the cavernous space. Dust motes dance in the harsh glare, tiny galaxies orbiting the stacked crates and bundled cargo. You move between towering pallets, your hand tracing the rough grain of wood, the slick plastic of shrink wrap. Each container bears a manifest, a destination, a story of movement and commerce. Your gaze, accustomed to dissecting the mundane for the anomalous, scans for any deviation, any whisper of deceit hidden beneath the official stamps. The air hangs heavy with the scent of salt, treated lumber, and the faint, acrid tang of distant exhaust fumes from the dock. Here, in the quiet aftermath of the day's frantic activity, your determination feels like a physical weight, settling into the deliberate rhythm of your steps. A sharp, insistent vibration against your hip shatters the warehouse's stillness. Your comms device, a small black rectangle, glows with an incoming signal. You pull it out, the screen illuminating your face with a cool, blue light. "Blake," you answer, your voice a low rumble, cutting through the ambient drone. "Blake, it's the captain." "Thorne. Councilman Thorne." The captain's voice, usually a gravelly stream of commands, holds an edge of disbelief, a tremor of genuine shock. "He's gone. He was found him in his residence. No entry points, Blake. None, and it's bad." The name, Thorne, reverberates through the warehouse's vastness. Councilman Thorne, the unyielding advocate, the architect of the city's anti-corruption drives, the man whose public image was forged in steel and unwavering principle. His home, a fortress of smart technology and layered security, was whispered to be impregnable. Yet, the captain's words hang in the air, cold and undeniable. You feel a familiar tightening in your chest, the prelude to the storm. "On my way," you state, already moving, the warehouse lights receding behind you as you head for the exit. The city outside is a blur of neon and hurried headlights. Your cruiser slices through the late-night traffic, the siren a mournful cry against the urban pulse. Each street lamp you pass illuminates your reflection in the glass, a face etched with the quiet intensity of purpose, eyes that have seen too much but refuse to look away. Thorne's face flashes in your mind, the stern public persona, the measured cadence of his speeches. A man who invited few close, trusted even fewer. When you arrive, the scene is already a hive of hushed activity. Uniformed officers mill outside the grand, wrought iron gates, their faces grim under the flashing blue and red lights. The residence itself is a testament to Thorne's success and his paranoia: high walls, surveillance domes perched like predatory birds, and a front door that gleams with reinforced steel. His brow is furrowed with a mixture of confusion and awe. Alarm system was active. No breaches. Every sensor, every camera, all online. It's like he let them in, or they were already here. You nod, your gaze sweeping over the facade, seeking the invisible fracture in the perfect illusion of security. The air, usually crisp and clear in this affluent district, feels thick with an unspoken question. How? The room, usually a tableau of meticulous order, is subtly disturbed. An antique clock, usually a sentinel on the mantelpiece, is askew. The violence wasn't overt, not a rampage, but a precise, focused disruption. And then you see him. Councilman Thorne. The forensic technician kneels nearby, a grim professionalism shielding his expression. Your eyes take in the scene, refusing to flinch. The weapon, you note immediately, is not visible. No knife glinting, no firearm discarded. Cause of death appears to be blunt force trauma, the forensic technician states, his voice low and clinical. Multiple blows to the head and upper torso. Extensive internal injuries. But the strangest thing, Blake. He gestures with a gloved hand towards Thorne's left wrist. No defensive wounds. Not a single one. And the position of the body. he didn't fight back. Or couldn't. You crouch, your gaze unwavering. Thorne's eyes, wide and unseeing, stare at the ornate ceiling. A man like Thorne, known for his tenacity, for his willingness to stand his ground against powerful interests, wouldn't simply succumb. Not without a struggle. Your eyes drift from the body, scanning the immediate surroundings, searching for the unspoken narrative. On a small, antique side table, partially obscured by a fallen velvet curtain, you notice a small, leather-bound journal. It's not the kind of sleek, digital device Thorne would typically favor for his public work. This is old, worn, with a tarnished silver clasp that now lies open. A single page is turned, revealing a tightly penned script. You don't touch it, but the anomaly registers. Thorne, the man of transparent governance, keeping a private, analog record. A flicker of something beyond his public facade. Anything else? You ask the forensic technician, your voice quiet, but laced with a demand for absolute detail. The study door, he replies, pointing towards a heavy oak door at the far end of the room. It was locked from the inside. We had to force it, and inside. It's a mess. Files everywhere. Like someone was looking for something specific. A locked door from the inside, a man brutally murdered without a fight, a meticulously secured home breached without a trace, and now a ransacked study. The pieces don't fit the picture of a simple, violent home invasion. This is something else entirely. Something far more deliberate, more personal. And you, Blake, are now tasked with turning its pages. The lingering scent of ozone and something metallic clings to your clothes, a phantom echo of the previous night's grim discovery. You lean back in the worn office chair, the fluorescent hum overhead a dull counterpoint to the quiet whir of the case files spinning in your mind. A locked door, an unforced entry, a man known for his vigilance, silenced without a struggle. And the ransacked study, an amateurish flourish on an otherwise professional act. No, this was not the desperate scramble of a common thief. This was a calculated strike, a message perhaps, or a hunt for something specific. Your fingers trace the cold rim of a coffee mug, the steam long gone. The first step, as always, is to peel back the public veneer. You begin with the councilman's life, a tapestry woven with civic accolades and anti-corruption crusades. Financial disclosures, property deeds, campaign contributions, you sift through them all, a digital archaeologist unearthing layers of carefully curated data. His public persona, a beacon of integrity, gleams brightly on every document. Yet, a subtle dissonance begins to hum beneath the surface. A series of transfers to an obscure offshore holding company, small enough to escape casual notice, too frequent to be entirely innocuous. A property deed for a remote cabin, purchased years ago, never publicly disclosed. And a recurring, unlisted phone number in his call logs, dialed late at night, always from a burner phone Thorne supposedly used only for sensitive constituent matters. These aren't cracks in the facade, not yet. More like hairline fractures, invisible until you know precisely where to look. He speaks of Thorne with an almost religious reverence, painting a portrait of unwavering dedication. He was a lion, you understand? Fearless. He ruffled feathers, yes, but always for the city's good. You watch his eyes, the flicker of genuine grief warring with a practiced composure. You ask about the late-night calls, the offshore accounts. The chief of staff blinks, a slight hesitation. Councilman Thorne was always discreet. Sensitive information. He handled much personally. The answer is smooth, rehearsed, a little too perfect. Next, you meet the councilman's spouse, her face a mask of profound sorrow, framed by the stark white walls of a private meeting room. Her voice is soft, reedy with grief. He was different lately. Distant. He'd spend hours in his study, sometimes late into the night. Said he was working on something big, something that could change everything. You press gently about the nature of this something big. She shakes her head, a tear tracing a path through the powder on her cheek. He never spoke specifics. Just that it was dangerous. He kept a small, leather-bound book. Always with him. He called it his truth-teller. She describes it as an old-fashioned ledger, a deep crimson cover, with a delicate brass clasp. He was always writing in it. Numbers, symbols. I didn't understand it. A ledger. Not among the ransacked papers, not in the initial inventory. If it was so vital, so personal, where would a man like Thorne hide it when his study was compromised? Not in a safe, those were always the first places intruders checked. Not simply tucked away. It would be secured, yet accessible only to him. You return to the crime scene, the house now sterile, processed. Where does a meticulous man, obsessed with exposing hidden truths, hide his hidden truths? Your gaze drifts to the library, floor-to-ceiling shelves groaning with weighty tomes on municipal law, economics, urban planning. Each spine is immaculate, save for one. You slide it out. It feels heavier than it should, the paper thicker. A false bottom. Inside, nestled in velvet, lies the ledger. Crimson leather, a brass clasp, just as described. It smells faintly of old paper and something metallic, like iron. You open it, the clasp clicking softly. The pages are filled not with narrative, but with a precise, almost calligraphic hand. Dates. Codes. Initials. And numbers, columns of them, far too large for a councilman's salary. Alongside, cryptic symbols, a language of its own. Site Gamma. Manifest 7 Alpha. Black box delivery. This isn't about city zoning or public works. The ledger isn't just a record, it's a map. And it points directly to an operation running under the cover of legitimate commerce. The city, known for its bustling ports and ceaseless flow of goods, suddenly feels less like a home and more like a vast, intricate conduit for illicit exchange. The clock ticks, each second drawing you closer to the specified time. The city lights blur outside the squad car window as you navigate the industrial district, the air growing heavy with the tang of brine and diesel. The vast structure looms under the pale glow of distant streetlights, an inert titan of steel and corrugated iron. This place, usually a hive of activity, is unnervingly still. Too still. The ledger's cryptic entry has led you here, to the heart of something Thorne clearly believed was worth dying for. The air crackles with a palpable tension, a premonition of discovery, or perhaps, of danger. You take a breath, the metallic scent of the docks filling your lungs. What waits inside this silent behemoth? The truth, or another trap? Site Gamma. Manifest 7 Alpha. Black box delivery. The ledger, a brittle skin of secrets, lies open before you, its coded script an insistent whisper. This isn't about city zoning or public works. This is about something far more clandestine, a shadow woven into the city's very fabric. You carry the ledger, a lead weight of revelation, down the sterile corridors to the data analysis division. You find the analyst hunched over a bank of monitors, a halo of blue light outlining their tired shoulders. Their desk, a landscape of discarded coffee cups and tangled wires, speaks of lone, thankless hours. I need your eyes on something, you state, placing the ledger gently on a clear corner of the desk. The analyst, without looking up, grunts. Unless it's a missing cat or a parking dispute that somehow involves quantum physics, I'm swamped, Blake. Their voice is a dry rasp, worn thin by endless data streams. This is different. You tap the open page. Look at these specific entries. Black box delivery. The analyst finally pivots, their gaze, sharp and weary, scanning the page. Irritation? Crosses their face. After hours? That's not unusual. Overtime for priority shipments, confidential clearances. Happens all the time. They push their glasses higher on their nose, a dismissive gesture. But coupled with black box delivery, you press. Your voice a low, steady current. And a specific site code, gamma, that doesn't correspond to any public-facing section of the official customs facility. A slow, deliberate breath escapes the analyst. They lean closer, their fingers, nimble from years of keyboard work, hover over the page. Black box. That's not standard terminology. Not in any official manifest I've ever seen. Their eyes narrow, tracing the lines of the entry. And site gamma. I might be able to cross-reference that. There are old schematics of the customs complex, pre-renovation. Screens flicker, data streams scroll past at dizzying speeds. You watch, the tension coiling tighter in your gut. The air grows thick with the silent language of algorithms and databases. Minutes stretch into an eternity. Then, a sudden, sharp intake of breath from the analyst. There. Officially decommissioned 20 years ago. The records show intermittent power fluctuations in that sector, unscheduled access logs, almost perfectly masked by routine maintenance schedules. And black box delivery, you prompt, your voice barely audible. The analyst pulls up another screen, their fingers flying. Cross-referencing black box with known underworld lexicon, old intelligence reports. It's a code for untraceable cargo. Unmarked, uninspected. Usually high value, high risk. And Manifest 7 Alpha isn't a manifest number at all, Blake. It's a schedule. It's a covert hub. For illicit goods. The analyst nods slowly, their eyes wide with dawning realization. Yes. And not just any goods. The energy spikes, the scale of the unscheduled access. We're talking industrial-level contraband. Or worse. They pull up a map, a detailed schematic of the city, overlaid with a spiderweb of red lines. Look at this. Import-export businesses, construction firms, even a few high-end art galleries. All with overlapping directorships, all recently acquired or founded by holding companies with opaque ownership structures. The names flash across the screen, a roster of seemingly legitimate enterprises. This is a vast network. Before you can fully process the revelation, the intercom on the analyst's desk crackles to life. Blake, my office. Now. It's the captain's voice, a low growl that signals trouble. You exchange a look with the analyst, a shared understanding of the precarious ground you now stand upon. Effective immediately. There's a new lead on a street gang rivalry that needs your unique focus. Your jaw tightens. Captain, I'm on the verge of uncovering a major criminal enterprise. This isn't a ghost hunt, it's tangible evidence. The councilman's murder is directly connected to this. The captain slams a hand on the desk, the sound echoing sharply in the room. I said you're off the case. This enterprise you speak of is a distraction. You're losing focus. Get back to basics. Your past record. It doesn't inspire confidence in your ability to handle complex, politically sensitive investigations. Their eyes, usually a steady blue, are now chips of ice. Consider this a direct order. The captain rises, walking to the window, their back to you. There are certain lines, Blake, that are best left uncrossed. This isn't just pushback, it's a wall. A clear signal that the corruption reaches higher, deeper than you had imagined. The captain's words, a cold steel door slamming shut, echo in the hollow space between your ribs. You feel the current shift, a deeper, stronger tide pulling against you. On the small corkboard in your kitchen, usually adorned with takeout menus and a faded postcard from a forgotten trip, a new edition gleams under the weak light. A photograph. An old one, edges softened by time, showing you years younger, laughing freely beside a woman whose smile still catches in your throat. Your sister, lost too soon, too violently, in a case that still whispers in your nightmares. Across the back, scrawled in thick, black marker, a single, stark word, remember. The breath catches, a shard of ice in your lungs. This isn't a random warning. This is a deliberate excavation, a cruel twist of the knife. They know. They know your raw places, the ghosts that walk your periphery. The threat is not just to your investigation, it's to the fragile peace you've built around your grief. He speaks of a specific shipment, a time, a place. He mentions a name, a corporate entity you've never heard of, but the way he says it, the tremor in his voice, tells you it's significant. His desperation is a siren call you cannot ignore. The warehouse looms like a sleeping leviathan, its corrugated metal skin reflecting the bruised indigo of the late-night sky. You navigate the silent streets, the hum of your engine a lonely sound. The air grows heavy with the brine of the harbor, the metallic tang of industry. Each distant clank, each rustle of wind through forgotten debris, is a potential ambush. The main gate is chained, but a smaller pedestrian door, barely visible in the gloom, hangs ajar. You slip inside, the scent of diesel, salt, and damp concrete filling your nostrils. The vast interior is a cathedral of stacked containers, their painted surfaces muted by the low-wattage emergency lights. You find the dock worker huddled between two towering stacks of crates, his face a pale mask of fear under the sporadic light. I saw things. Things that don't belong. He gestures wildly towards a specific row of containers, his finger trembling. That one. The one with the green stripe. Not supposed to be there. Not for weeks. And the papers. They're for a different company. Acheron Logistics. The name hits you like a physical blow. Acheron. The river of sorrow in ancient myths. But more than that, it's a name you've heard before, buried in the dusty files of your past. A shell corporation, long thought defunct, linked to a series of disappearances and a construction project that went sideways years ago, the very project your sister had been investigating before her life was so cruelly extinguished. He was supposed to make it disappear. The cargo. It's not what they say it is. It's too heavy. It's not a gunshot, but something harder, more brutal. The dock worker's eyes widen further, his mouth opening in a silent gasp as his body convulses. You drop, rolling behind a container, your hand instinctively going to your weapon, but the sound of retreating footsteps is already fading, swallowed by the warehouse's cavernous expanse. They were here. They were waiting. They knew. You crawl back to the dock worker, his body still warm, his eyes staring blankly at the metal ceiling. His last breath was a name, a company, a connection that now links the councilman's murder directly to your sister's death. Acheron Logistics. The puzzle pieces snap together with a sickening click. This conspiracy isn't just high, it's personal. And it's been waiting for you. The dock worker's body convulses, a terrible, wet sound tearing from his throat, before he collapses, a heap of denim and fear, against the cold metal of a shipping container. A metallic pipe, heavy and glinting faintly, slips from its grasp, clattering once on the concrete floor before rolling into obscurity. The air, thick with the scent of brine and industrial solvents, now carries a new, metallic tang. Your hand instinctively sweeps to your sidearm, but the figure is already a whisper in the echoing space, too far, too fast. You sprint, not after the phantom, but to the man at your feet. His eyes, wide and unfocused, stare up at the skeletal network of steel girders above. A dark bloom spreads rapidly across his chest. You kneel, your fingers pressing against the gushing wound, a futile gesture against the finality settling over him. Who, you demand, your voice raw, urgent. Who sent them? He gasps, a rattle in his throat. His hand, trembling, lifts, not towards you, but past you, towards a towering stack of crates. His finger, smeared with his own lifeblood, points to a specific container, one. Emblazoned with a peculiar, stylized logo, a coiled serpent intertwined with a cogwheel. It's an obscure symbol, one you've seen before, perhaps in a dusty file, perhaps on a legal document. He struggles for words, his lips forming a soundless syllable, dot. Chair. Then, his eyes glaze over, the light extinguishing, and his hand drops, heavy and inert. You rise slowly, your gaze sweeping the desolate space. The attacker is long gone, swallowed by the labyrinthine stacks. But then, your eye catches a glint near where the pipe fell, a small, polished object reflecting the sparse overhead lights. You retrieve it. It's a tie pin, intricately crafted, its polished silver surface depicting the exact same coiled serpent and cogwheel logo as on the container. It's expensive, bespoke, not something a common thug would wear. You remember the city council's recent public works proposals, the heated debates over the new waterfront development, the commissioner of city planning, a man named Sterling Vance. Vance, with his impeccable suits and his smooth, persuasive voice, always seemed to be the driving force behind these projects. You recall seeing him at a press conference, his tie held by a similar, though less elaborate, silver pin. And the logo, the coiled serpent and cogwheel, that's the insignia of Viridian Holdings, a new consortium that mysteriously won the bid for the entire waterfront redevelopment project, despite its recent formation and lack of previous major projects. Thorne, the murdered councilman, had been vehemently against that specific bid, publicly questioning Viridian Holdings' legitimacy and calling for an independent audit of their financials. He was digging, you realize now, not just into general corruption, but into this specific venture. The pieces snap into place with a sickening clarity. It's a sophisticated, citywide network of graft and embezzlement, siphoning public funds through shell companies and rigged contracts, orchestrated by someone at the very heart of the city's development. Thorne wasn't just an anti-corruption advocate, he was directly threatening the commissioner's empire. His murder wasn't a warning, it was a desperate act of preservation. Perhaps the chairman of Viridian Holdings, or simply Vance's role as the chairman of the planning commission overseeing it all. You stand amidst the silent cargo, the tie pin heavy in your palm. The scope of this criminal operation has just exploded, transforming from a street-level investigation into a direct assault on the city's highest offices. Vance, the public servant, the pillar of the community, is your key player. The man who sat across from you in meetings, offering condolences for Thorne's death, subtly guiding your initial inquiries away from the very projects that now implicate him. And now, he knows you are asking questions, pressing too close. The dock worker is dead, a casualty of your pursuit. You are alone, and the hunt has just become infinitely more perilous. The rhythmic drip, a solitary heartbeat in the cavernous expanse, seems to amplify the silence. His final, desperate gasp still echoes in the air, a phantom sound. Your gaze sweeps the desolate space, a vast landscape of stacked crates and shrouded machinery. The air hangs heavy with the scent of brine and forgotten cargo, a metallic tang of something more sinister clinging to the periphery. You crouch, a phantom limb of urgency guiding your hands. The informant's fingers, stiffening, still clutch something. A small, tarnished key, its teeth unusually complex, almost like a miniature puzzle. You pocket it, the cold metal a small anchor in the rising tide of panic. Your calms crackle to life, an unwelcome intrusion into the grim tableau. Blake, status report. Where are you? It's the superior, his voice tight, lacking its usual measured calm. You hesitate, the key burning against your palm. To report this now, in this compromised state, feels like walking into a snare. The words catch in your throat. Not a signal loss, but a deliberate cut. You know, with a sudden, sickening clarity, that the game has changed. You expect the usual grim faces, the hushed questions. The air crackles with an unspoken verdict. Blake, the superior begins, his voice devoid of its usual warmth. We have a situation. The auditor steps forward, a dossier clutched in his hand. An anonymous tip, detective. Very specific. Furthermore, he pauses, allowing the words to hang, heavy and damning. Evidence found at the scene suggests a struggle. I was there. I witnessed it. Witnessed what, exactly, Blake, the superior interjects, his eyes hard, distant. The informant's demise? This is orchestrated. A meticulous, cruel framing. They've moved with astonishing speed. The weapon they speak of, your service pistol, is still holstered at your hip. They haven't even bothered to check. This isn't an investigation, it's an execution. We've also received reports of unauthorized access to sensitive files, the auditor continues, specifically those pertaining to the councilman's case. Your access logs show activity that raises serious questions. He gestures to a tablet, its screen displaying a timeline of your supposed digital transgressions. It's all a lie, a carefully constructed narrative designed to discredit you. Your badge, Blake. Your weapon. The superior holds out his hand, his gaze unwavering. Effective immediately, you are suspended pending a full investigation. Do not leave the city. Stripped of your authority, your identity, you are a ghost in the machine you once served. The precinct, once a sanctuary, now feels like a cage, its bars tightening around you. They want you to disappear. That's where the answers lie, deeper than they want anyone to dig. You need undeniable evidence. Something that screams their guilt, something no planted weapon or fabricated log can refute. Operating outside the law, outside the system you swore to uphold, is a terrifying precipice, but it's the only path left. The deeper sections. And I need it tonight. The locksmith's voice, raspy and knowing, echoes back, that place is a ghost ship, Blake. They keep it locked down tight. The locksmith, a wraith in the gloom, works with silent efficiency, his tools barely visible. Good luck. You slip inside, the vast space swallowing you whole. The key from the informant burns a path in your mind. You move through the aisles of towering crates, the labels a jumble of foreign ports and forgotten goods. There, hidden behind a false wall of empty pallets, is a discreet, reinforced door. The tarnished key slides into the lock, a perfect fit. Inside, the air is thick with the scent of old paper and something metallic, almost like fresh ink. This is no ordinary storage unit. A single, bare bulb illuminates a small, makeshift office. A worn desk, a filing cabinet, and a single, heavy safe. Your fingers trace the precise, elegant script. It's a meticulous record, not of legitimate goods, but of illicit shipments, a detailed account of bribery, intimidation, and the systematic exploitation of the very system designed to protect the city's borders. And the names, though coded, are undeniably familiar. This isn't just evidence, it's a confession, a blueprint of corruption. The reveal/discovery is breathtaking in its scope, tying the murdered councilman, the informant, and the city's deepest secrets to this very warehouse. You quickly photograph every page with your burner phone, the clicks echoing in the hushed space like gunshots. This ledger, along with the detailed financial records in the safe, is irrefutable. But as you finish, a faint hum vibrates through the concrete floor. A heavy door grinding open, somewhere deeper within the warehouse. Footsteps, heavy and deliberate, begin to approach. They know you're here. The walls are closing in. You have the truth, But now you are truly alone, a rogue element hunted by the very power you seek to expose. The ledger, a fragile victory, becomes a heavy burden, promising freedom or utter destruction. Your breath clouds faintly in the cool air, a ghost of your presence in this cavernous space. The key, a cold weight in your palm, feels less like a tool and more like a brand. The labels on the towering crates blur into a mosaic of global commerce: fragile, Beijing; electronics, Hamburg; textiles, Mumbai. But amidst this legitimate facade, your gaze snags on an anomaly. A row of crates, identical in size, bear no origin stamps, only a crudely stenciled numeric code, 713 Alpha. The informant's whispered instructions echo in your mind, a faint rustle of paper against your ear: look for the ghost shipments. Your fingers, guided by instinct, trace the rough wood of one such crate. A faint, metallic scent, sharp and acrid, pricks at your nostrils, cutting through the usual warehouse dust and damp. It's the smell of freshly cut metal, or perhaps, something less industrial. You crouch, the key now an extension of your intent. A soft click echoes, swallowed by the immensity around you. The lid lifts with a groan, revealing not electronics or textiles, but a meticulously packed layer of compressed fiberboard. Beneath it, nestled in custom-fitted foam, are rows upon rows of sleek, untraceable firearms, their blued steel glinting dully in the dim light filtering from the distant high windows. Thorne's fight, his uncompromising stand against the city's rot, suddenly makes devastating sense. He wasn't just fighting corruption, he was fighting an insurgency from within. A low, measured voice cuts through the stillness, making you flinch, the crate lid thudding softly back into place. Impressive, isn't it? The sheer ingenuity required to make ghosts walk through customs. You straighten slowly, your hand instinctively dropping to the grip of your sidearm. Standing perhaps 30 feet away, silhouetted against a sliver of light from a distant exit sign, is the city's chief customs inspector. Closer than you thought. The chief customs inspector takes a slow, deliberate step forward, his hands clasped behind his back. Councilman Thorne was an impediment. A man of antiquated ideals in a city built on fluid loyalties. He saw black and white where there were only shades of gray, Blake. He saw right and wrong, you counter, the words sharp. And he saw you. He saw you orchestrating this entire pipeline. The firearms, the untaxed goods, the money laundering through shell corporations disguised as legitimate import-export businesses. All under the guise of civic duty. A humorless smile touches the inspector's lips. Civic duty, economic stimulus, call it what you will. It keeps the city moving. Keeps certain people comfortable. Thorne threatened that comfort. He was going to expose the network, wasn't he? He had found the ledgers, the coded manifests for these very crates. He had more than that, you press, your eyes never leaving his. He had a witness. Someone who worked for you, someone who saw the operation firsthand. Thorne was a fool. He trusted the wrong people. He believed in the sanctity of a system that was already compromised. He trusted you, you accuse, the revelation of bitter taste in your mouth. He brought his concerns to you, his colleague, his supposed ally against corruption. He showed you what he found. He presented me with his findings, yes. The evidence of my network. He believed I would help him dismantle it. Instead, I removed the problem. His gaze hardens, fixed on you. And now, you are the new problem. A persistent, inconvenient echo of Thorne. You sent the enforcer to his home, you deduce, the pieces slotting into place with sickening precision. You knew Thorne wouldn't back down. You used his trust against him. A necessary unpleasantness, the inspector dismisses, a wave of his hand. The enforcer was efficient. He knew how to make a message stick. It's the same broad-shouldered man you've seen in grainy surveillance footage, the one whose distinctive gait matched the stride captured near Thorne's estate. The enforcer. He moves with a predatory grace, his hand already reaching for a heavy, bludgeoning tool strapped to his belt. This is where it ends, Blake, the chief customs inspector states, his voice devoid of emotion. No more ghosts. No more inconvenient truths in my warehouse. This operation runs deep, and it will not be disrupted by a single, misguided detective. The enforcer lunges, a silent, powerful blur. You don't hesitate. The air crackles with unspoken violence, the scent of metal and damp cardboard suddenly charged with a lethal electricity. You are no longer just an observer, you are a participant in the violent climax of a city's rot. The scent of metal and damp cardboard suffocates the air, thick with the promise of rupture. The enforcer, a shadow-given form, closes the distance. You raise your sidearm, the cold steel a natural extension of your will. No warning. No shouted command. Just the stark, unyielding truth of the moment. The enforcer stumbles, a guttural sound torn from his throat, a primal protest against the sudden, searing pain. He collapses, not with a dramatic fall, but a heavy, graceless heap, a discarded sack of grievances. The illusion of his control shatters like flawed glass. His hand instinctively reaches for his own weapon, but yours is already steady, unwavering, pointed directly at the core of his carefully constructed empire. It's over, you state, your voice cutting through the warehouse gloom, devoid of triumph, heavy with the weight of revelation. All of it. The councilman, the imports, the entire operation. It ends here. He scoffs, a bitter, broken sound. You think this changes anything? One man, one bullet? This city is built on compromises, Blake. On necessities. His eyes, usually so calculating, now hold a desperate glint. You don't understand the forces at play. I understand enough, you counter, stepping closer, your boots echoing on the concrete. I understand a man murdered for standing in the way of greed. I understand a network of corruption that bled this city dry from the inside. And I understand that you orchestrated it all. He doesn't deny it. Instead, a weary resignation settles over him, stripping away the layers of authority and self-importance. The chief, architect of so much suffering, simply deflates. The distant wail of sirens, faint at first, then growing steadily louder, pierces the quiet. Reinforcements. The backup you called once the enforcer was neutralized, once the chief's location was confirmed. You hold your position until the first patrol car skids to a halt outside, its blue and red lights painting the grimy walls in fleeting streaks of color. The chief offers no resistance when the uniformed officers, led by a wary sergeant, move in to secure him. The enforcer, though wounded, is also taken into custody, his earlier ferocity now reduced to a whimpering pain. The chief's arrest sends shockwaves through the city, reverberating through every news channel and hushed conversation. The revered head of law enforcement, exposed as the mastermind behind a vast criminal enterprise, a man who had the city councilman murdered to protect his illicit empire of smuggled goods and influence. The truth, meticulously uncovered, is laid bare for all to see, the secret ledgers hidden in a false bottom of the chief's desk, the coded communications detailing the shipments, the bank accounts funneling millions offshore, all tied directly to the councilman's assassination. The revelation is a brutal incision, exposing the festering wound beneath the city's polished exterior. For you, Blake, the immediate relief is quickly tempered by the weight of it all. The chief, a figure you once respected, now stands as a monument to betrayal. The professional cost is immediate and steep. You are hailed as a hero by some, a rogue by others. The prosecutor praises your tenacity, but Internal Affairs launches a full investigation into your unorthodox methods, the lines you blurred, the rules you bent to bring down a man beyond reproach. Your badge is not revoked, but it feels heavier, tarnished by the very victory it represents. The camaraderie you once shared with colleagues now feels strained, palpable. Tension in their averted gazes. The city, wounded and betrayed, begins the slow, arduous process of healing. Public outrage boils, then settles into a quiet determination for reform. New faces emerge, promising transparency, vowing to cleanse the rot. But the scars remain, deep and visible. You face your personal demons in the quiet solitude. The ghost of past failures, the cases that slip through your grasp, they still linger. But now, another image joins them, the councilman's broken body, the chief's defeated face. You saw the truth, pursued it relentlessly, but the price paid was immense. Not just the physical danger, but the erosion of trust, the stark realization of how deeply corruption can embed itself. You find yourself standing by your window, looking out at the city lights. They shimmer, defiant against the night sky, a testament to resilience. A fragile peace settles over you, not the euphoria of triumph, but the quiet satisfaction of a painful duty discharged. The city will change, slowly, painfully. And so will you, Blake. The path forward is uncertain, but the clarity of purpose, forged in the crucible of this reckoning, lights the way to a changed future.